All right, hello, ladies. Today we are diving into Unit 4. So I know in class we're starting to kind of finish up Unit 3. We haven't taken that quiz yet, but we're going to start Unit 4 just so that we don't fall behind in everything we need to get through this semester. So Unit 4 is evolution. And the first thing that I want to do is get into some background terms that are really important going forward in this unit, and also terms that are going to come up later when we get into our heredity unit. So the first term is heredity. And as we know, heredity is one of our properties of life. It's one of the things that you have to be able to do in order to be considered living. So heredity is how characteristics are passed down to their offspring. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So two different sex, or it could be asexual, reproduction happens. You have to be able to pass on your genes to your offspring. Let's talk about what a gene is. A gene is a functional unit of heredity. So it's found in DNA. It's kind of this broad term that we use when we talk about heredity. And it's the main kind of unit of heredity. Then we have trait, and that is your observable characteristic. So when we're talking about genes, we might be specifically talking about a certain trait. And we might say that your gene is expressed or not expressed based on if you have or don't have that trait. So think about your hair color or your eye color. Those are from genes that you have in your body and your DNA, but they're observable characteristics that we can see on the outside. Another term that I want you to know is adaptation. And this is a feature that is common in a population because it provides some type of improved function. So different populations will adapt to their environments in order to be able to survive. And we're going to get into that a little bit as we go through this notes video. Next term, hopefully you've heard these before, but if you haven't, that's okay, is alleles. And this is an alternate form of genes for a specific trait that we're talking about. So let's pretend we're talking about brown eyes. Brown eyes is dominant over blue eyes. So dominant alleles means that it masks the effect of other alleles. So that dominant trait from that allele or that gene is masked, it masks the other trait. And the opposite of dominant would be recessive. So that would be blue eyes. Recessive is an allele that's masked by the dominant allele. So if this is a little bit confusing, it's okay. These are kind of just general terms I want you to at least know the definitions of going into this unit. When we're talking about alleles, they are represented as two letters. So the same letter, so we'll say two A's. If they are dominant, the A would be capitalized. If they are recessive, the A is lowercase. When we have homozygous alleles, that is an organism, or when we have an organism that is homozygous, that means that they have two identical alleles for a trait. Now, that means that they either have two lowercase a's or two capital A's. And they have to be the same letter, and they have to be the same either lowercase or capital. Then we have the opposite, so heterozygous. That's an organism with two different alleles for a trait. So think about big A or capital A and lowercase a. That would be heterozygous. So let's get into evolution and